Namaskar dosto and welcome to Career Conclave 2020 by HLS India media partner, the School Times web channel. Friends, as you are all aware, 2020 have been a very challenging year, but India and its citizens have shown a lot of conviction and positivity to battle with the moment, battle with the phase, and that is why India so far have shown great results in facing the pandemic the way it has come to all of us. As we had, when initially we talked about new normal, but I think right now we are in a stage when we can say that we are approaching near normal stage in this pandemic phase, and we are getting back to normalcy. Like HLS India, along with its media partner, the School Times, have visualize and envisage that as we get into this near normal, the young minds need to get perspective. HLS India is committed for mental wellness and bringing out the best in individuals and institutions through its training, counseling, and consultancy, be it clinical, be it career, and other aspects in life. Every year, we've been reaching out, HLS India have been reaching out to young minds to help them have awareness. And this year, is no different. The only thing that is different is the medium and the method, and we have chosen to go digital and virtual with Career Conclave 2020 by HLS India. As we got this opportunity, we realized that when it comes to career information, we have a lot of information available from different sources, books available here. We can go on the net, surf, and get information. But one thing which is not available anywhere, and that is the experience. And that is where Career Conclave 2020 focuses on bringing people who chose, who decided, and who ventured into a career stream and have become a success story in their own right. So we are bringing success stories to you from different careers so that you can get an insight into what that experience of being in that career is all about. How have they chosen their career? What everything has its positives and its challenges. So trying to understand from the practitioners the good, the bad, the ugly, and if we are choosing to be in that career, how to go about. And in this journey, as we enter today in day 5, day 1, we started with talking about science, commerce, humanities, what is better, lesser, pros and cons, myths. We talked about career in psychology. We talked about career in economics. We brought you, Archit Kumar, one of the fastest rising star in the Bollywood in direction, and to talk about media and career in Bollywood in theatre. We got you, the executive director of Sports Authority of India, the apex body. We got Dr. Arvind Mohan, the leading economist. So many people in their own spheres and in their zone. In the same light, I personally have an opinion about the career in focus on day 5, session 1, that is law. There was a time when we were growing up and people were talking of a career that is engineering and medical science. जिसको भी 10th or 12th में आए बेटा क्या कर रहे हो और क्या करना चाहिए, everyone was talking about engineering and medicine. And if one career, in my opinion, which has really given competition to that trend in last 1 decade, that is law. जैसे पहले लोग +2 के बाद बात करते थे इंजीनियरिंग और मेडिसिन की, फिर आया चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी, एंड लास्ट 1 decade everyone is talking about law as a career. So law has really emerged as a mainstream career, which is not just another option anymore. It is the first choice for many when they are choosing a career. And friends, we thought of bringing you the experience. When we talk about law, we have one of the most abuzz place about law is Delhi, and we have with us Mr. J.P. Singh, who is a senior advocate of Delhi High Court. He has a lot of distinctions to his career, and remembering all his achievement is difficult. And even if I just talk about his profile, probably this episode will just go in reading his profile. So I've kept few points to highlight before I invite you to have an interaction with you all. Friends, he has been a well-known civil and commercial arbitration lawyer, and he's also known as an accomplished mediator. Mediation as a field of law has really seen a day of light under his stewardship and vision. In fact, there has been a major initiative taken by the court and to create a body called Samadhan. And Mr. J.P. Singh has been the founder secretary for the organizing secretary of Samadhan, and has really done a lot of work in that area. He's also received training in India, also in abroad in the USA, and has been doing a lot of trainings in India and abroad in the legal field. He's also the member of overseeing committee of Delhi High Court Mediation and Conciliation Center. He's the Secretary General of Madhyam International Council for Conflict Resolution, and till very recently, he was the Vice President of Delhi High Court Bar Association. And friends, there's so much to talk about him, but I think we are here to talk about the career in law. So without any further ado, allow me to invite J.P. Singh, Senior Advocate, Delhi High Court. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Career Conclave 2020, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us to inspire young minds.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for calling me. And I'm sure I would like to contribute, for the young minds as to what they have so far as future in law is concerned.
Thank you so much, sir. And, we also have few students who have connected to us, because we felt that when we talk, we get few students ask questions. So we have students from different schools connected right now with us on the virtual mode. After another 10 minutes or so, I'm going to invite them to have an interface with you as well. But to begin our interaction, I would like to ask for our viewers and for young minds who are watching you right now, a little bit about your journey, how you chose to be a lawyer and how you maneuvered you to a level that you have achieved today.
Amitabh, you rightly said, when we were young, the chosen professions were medicine or engineering. And one aspired for was civil services.
Right.
And probably that was the reason why probably I chose law. One of the subjects for taking the examination of civil services.
Right.
And along with that, though I was a science student, I did BSc, but I chose sociology as one of the subjects for my mains in civil services, and I didn't do very well. And there I remember my last mains paper was somewhere in October, and November I had joined the bar.
Right.
See, I come from a very small town in Dhanbad where I did my schooling. Right. And so when I came here, it was basically to study for the civil services examination, because they said Delhi at that time gave a lot of opportunity to prepare for the civil services. And having chosen law as a subject, which they said was very scoring and, very good. And so once then I decided that, maybe I'm not going to make it, or maybe I'll make it to the class 2 services, and I was not very keen, and I joined law. Okay. Then I wrote all options, right. And it is that which helped me, because when I joined my senior, and it was 364 days in a year that I worked. The 365th day was Holi, when you couldn't go to office. And so whether it was summer vacation or a winter vacation or like come any day, I had not seen sunset and sunrise.
Okay.
Enter the office when it was already the sun was up, and I would leave when the sun was down, and it was maybe at 11:30, 12 at night. The profession is challenging. Yes, of course, in the initial years are tough in law, and so coming from Dhanbad to Delhi, it's been a long journey. And God has been kind. In fact, imagine I was counsel for Rajya Sabha Secretariat for about good over a decade.
Okay.
And none of the matters I lost. And I was surprised once when the Secretary General wanted to see me.
Okay. And
I was surprised as to why does he want to see me. And he said, and the reason why, like he said, after we had had a cup of tea, he says, Mr. J.P. Singh, I wanted to see who's this J.P. Singh. Because I would see your name in the file, but I never met you.
Okay.
I told him, look, I always believe since school that my work should speak for itself. I said, I believe in coming and meeting and, making social calls. And if my work, you like my work, that's my reward.
I think that's a very profound message for our young friends who are watching you right now. That what you said is very, very important. Let your work speak for yourself. In fact, in Career Conclave, this is one thing that I can say that almost every professional successful story that we've got on the panel, they all said that it is a let your work speak for yourself. Excellence is what matters. We just had Mr. Archit Kumar a few days back, director from Bollywood. Even he said that it is excellence which is important, and that's what you're saying. That let your work speak for yourself. People will follow you.
True. And I've not looked back, since school days. My teachers sometimes, hated me for this, that I would not go up to them to ask for favors.
Okay.
But one of the teachers, in fact, was very angry with me. We used to have moderation club, elocution
Right.
debates we used to do in school. And somebody proposed my name for the president of the club, and I was not there. I had a
Okay.
basketball match. And if he's not interested, why are you giving his name? And he got very annoyed with me. And my
Okay.
principal at that time told me, Mr. JP Singh, remember this, JP, he will not correct your papers. We had senior Cambridge at that time. In fact, maybe
Right.
I was the last batch. We had Indian school certificate from the Cambridge
Right. Right.
University. That was maybe the last 74 was the last batch. And thereafter it became ICSE, then the 10 plus
Okay.
2, the 11th batch. And then I got a distinction in English. So therefore, what I believe, and I really mean it, that children should know this. I mean, you create fashion. If you are good in your work, people will follow you.
That's
Whatever
so
you do.
beautifully said. You create fashion. If you're good, people will follow you, right? Fashion is what successful people do. Others follow the suit. So if you're good, you will create that fashion. So beautifully said. Now this brings me to ask you, sir, that when we talk about uh, law, a lot of people have particularly youngsters, when we interact, and they it's going to be a very funny question, probably it's going to add a tinge of salt to our conversation. Lawyers and liars, then people say that law is about manipulating facts rather than going in a straight logical way. On the other side, people say law is all about logic. Law is about having an insight into a context and provide helping a judge take a decision. So what is law actually for our young students?
See, you rightly said that. I mean, the common perception is that lawyers lie. Well, it is not true. We may find ways how to circumvent the law so that it favors the client for whom you are appearing. But that does not mean that, you are going to lie for him. I mean, for an example, as of principle, where I find that, if somebody's done some mischief, I return
Right,
the.
right.
If the law gives me a loophole, you know,
Okay.
and then why should I not utilize that, loophole in the system?
It is all about using the provisions in law.
Yes, using them to your advantage or your client's advantage.
Right, right,
So therefore, it's not that lawyers lie. I mean, it may look. See, sometimes because especially criminal justice system, when a
okay,
person is charged with a particular offense, I mean,
right.
you presume that he's guilty. I mean,
Absolutely.
how the press plays it up. The entire media trial happens. So the
Right.
presumption is the man is guilty. He has to prove that he's innocent. While the law
Absolutely.
is the contrary, the person is
Absolutely.
innocent till he's proved guilty. So
Very much so.
when you said that lawyers lie, it's the perception, because when you feel that a person has been charged, so he must have done something. And
Absolutely.
instances where how prosecution sometimes botches up cases, how people are actually probably they may be right in when they prosecute a person, but probably they may be wrong sometimes. They may catch the wrong person because of
Right.
if they do not have
Absolutely.
direct proof, because of circumstantial evidence, they may produce
Right.
somebody and charge him. But that does not mean that he's actually done that particular offense. So therefore, when I appear for that person, I'm not lying. I'm trying to protect an innocent person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's proved guilty by the court.
And I think that's a very important point to be known by all, that when we talk about law, as JP Singh sir mentioned, that it is not about lying, it is about using the provisions of law to help the client who is ignorant about the provisions in law. And, as long as there is no amendment in the law, that provision has to be, whether we agree with that provision or we don't agree with that provision needs to be used. And he very quite rightly said that it's a perception that people have. And I would like to further expand that no profession is negative.
True.
It's a human factor that we attribute to a profession, which causes this misconception. There are doctors who may be corrupt. There are civil servants who are corrupt. There may be lawyers who have a wrong practice. There are people in different professions. So that's a individual trait. That is not a trait of a profession. Profession is absolutely logical, and there is no room for lying. It's all about using your logical acumen to get
And
across.
that's why, Amitabh, I mean, we are a white collar profession. And similarly, like, doctors wear a white coat. So when
Right.
you say, we have soiled the white collar, similarly, now the horrendous stories you hear about doctors, I mean, which you could have never imagined.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's never about the profession. It's always it's a human factor. The negativity is not there in the profession. All professions are meant to help having a good quality of life for people, have balance in life. So does law, and I think that myth is very clear now with us there. Now, before I go further, I have a lot of talking to you. I'm getting excited to ask my question, but then I have a lot of young friends connected to us. So let us first take their questions, and then if they leave anything for me, I will further get into that inquiry with you. So do I have your permission to take my young friends up on the screen?
Please do that.
All right.
I would
So
love.
we will just be calling all our young friends connected from different schools to be with us and interact with Mr. JP Singh, Senior Advocate, Delhi High Court. All right, Ananya from Delhi Public School, Mega City. We have Vidisha. Vidisha, may I please request you to switch on your camera and unmute yourself? We have Jubeda from GMS Dubai connecting with us. We have Shubhayu Chakravarti from DPS Mega City. We have Khushi Goyal with us from Delhi Public School once again. So we have these young friends there with us wanting to interact and ask questions. We have Harsh here also with us. Let me take him also on the screen. So Harsh is from MC Kejriwal with their Pete. Friends, you have JP Singh sir and you have your questions with you. You will not get another opportunity like this to get insight from a practitioner. So I would request Vidisha and Shubayu and Zubeda, please switch on your cameras and interact with sir. Over to you. Just before we go on, Harshita, your camera and is not on. Can you try connecting again so that we can take you up also on the screen? We have one more student. Probably there is some technical issues, and the signal we'll take her as she gets connected. So we go one by one to you, and I'll begin with Ananya Agarwal. Over to you, Ananya, for your question to JP Singh.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I have two questions, like how to pursue law in international field.
International field means, would you like to clarify a little, Ananya?
For if international court of justice, or in different countries, not particularly in India or any particular country.
Ananya, you see, you have to have first basic, degree of law from any country, whether it's, India or whether you study abroad. First, you need to have the basic from any country. You'll have to have a basic degree of law. Today we have a 5-year course, and also we have a 6-year course, the one which we had when we started practice. So you need to first have that and then apply. First, and if you want to go abroad, you need to qualify your TOEFL and those other examinations that you have to clear them, and then take that particular universities, or for example, when you said International Court of Justice, etc., they keep coming out with their programs. If you keep a track of them, they keep coming out with their programs, and you can join those programs which they are conducting. And if they find you good, they will absorb you. They'll take you there, and then you can join and work with them. And most of these programs, in fact, start with internships. First they will give you internships, and then you can get absorbed. And it's possible. Yes, what you say that.
And sir, what are the basic qualities on which one needs to focus while they are planning to pursue law as their career?
The first most important quality is patience. See, this is a profession which requires a lot of hard work. So therefore you need to be patient. And the youngsters these days want to be millionaires overnight. This profession is not about turning millionaire. You can get your, but the unfortunate part is, we know in our days when we said, when you have the teeth, you did not have the money. And when you have the money, you don't have the teeth. You start getting money when you lost the appetite. It actually comes to you with the age, with passage of time, when you have that particular experience. But you need to have a lot of patience. And one good quality which you should have is being a good orator. You should pick up public speaking, because you see, law is about speaking, convincing the judge, or when you are appearing before an arbitrator, convincing the arbitrator so that you can get a judgment in your favor. So control on language. Language is also, again, you need something, to control on. So you should be either Hindi, English, doesn't matter. You need to be good, proficient in language. You should have good oratory skills. And the third is patience. Unless you are patient, law is, that's why they call it a jealous mistress.
Okay.
It takes you away from everything else. You need to sit on the table 24/7. Earlier, some of the professions, I had that particular misconception that they said doctors are 24/7 on the job. But let me tell you, if you are a good lawyer, your subconscious keeps working all the time. And as they say, you eat, drink, and sleep law. This is what you need to imbibe in case if you want to be good in this profession. There's no other choice.
This brings me to add to Ananya's question. You just now mentioned about 24/7, the work pattern, like doctors are 24/7. I've heard of a lot of law firms are there where they, it never closes its office, someone or the other, because they're dealing with the clients outside India where the time zones are different. So they are working actually literally 24/7. Can you give our friends insight into, is that reality or it's a myth?
You see, when you work with a law firm, basically that is what we call corporate practice.
Okay.
When you join a company, you can be an in-house counsel. So when you are working with a law firm, and therefore law firm has a lot of other paraphernalia going, as was just now mentioned by Amitabh, like you're giving opinions, you're working with the clients who are abroad, and late nights are in any way, even if you work with a senior, I was just telling Mr. Amitabh that I worked, when I joined my senior, I worked 364 days in a year. And the 365th day was Holi, when you couldn't move out. So whether it was Saturday or a Sunday or a summer vacation or a winter vacation, I was in my office at 8:30 and would leave by 11:30, 12. That's the kind of hard work the initial years require. Because that's where you're making your base. The building that you'll build will depend on the base that you create. So it's a lot of hard work. So in the law firms also, you need to have very, very long hours. But then, this is what pays you in the long run. The hard work that you put in the beginning will pay you in the long run. So
Absolutely.
therefore, don't despair, when you're not being really paid for the amount of work, because you'll find, because there will be a lot of peer pressure on you. So and so joined, so and so, he's getting 5-figure salary. I have joined a senior, I'm only getting, uh, in thousands, and the man is making a lakh. But you remember this: if you have made your base right, sky is the limit. When we talk of law.
So, in terms of satisfaction, in terms of success, in terms of remuneration, this profession has everything, but you have to have patience and that conviction and willingness to give your 100% to the profession. Ananya, I hope your queries are answered. We'll come back to you if you have more questions. Over to you, Harsh.
So, sir, good afternoon, JP sir and Amitabh sir. Sir, actually, I had three questions. The first one is, sir, is journalism and being a professor of law a good career choice in
Yes,
law?
yes. You can be a legal correspondent. There are a lot of youngsters who are doing very well. They will be there in the courts. Since as I was introduced as a vice president. When you are a part of the bar, you're running part of the executive or running the organization. So therefore, these people would come up to me and say, "Sir, is there a story that which you would like to tell us?" So they would be sitting in courts, taking stories and publishing it in their concerned newspapers. That's a career option which you do have, yes. And of course, teaching is a very noble profession, and even in law, there's a lot of scope. There's a lot of scope for teaching, and I'm sure you can look at that as a career option too.
Okay, sir. And sir, is it actually true that without getting into a good NLU, we cannot get into a good corporate job?
Let me tell you this: this is a myth. It's an individual who, when we talked about you have to be good in what you do. And earlier, if you remember, they said children from private schools were doing better, the results would be better. Now, Kendriya Vidyalayas and the other schools are doing much better than these private schools. So therefore, it depends on you. And I don't think that's a hard and fast rule that it's only if you pass out through an NLU. And because I remember for myself, as was said, law was chosen as the last profession when we joined the bar. And the people who were gold medalists in law turned out to be mediocre lawyers. And the people who were backbenchers are today better lawyers. So don't be under any impression about being part of any big law school or being part of a very bad school background, because the what you require in the profession is a totally different mindset and a different quality than what you study in books. It's not studies, which of course every lawyer is supposed to know basic law.
Right.
The hard work, they always say, you can go wrong on law, as was said, law can change, but you have no business to be wrong on facts. You can't be wrong on what your file says. So which means you have to sit and work hard on the facts. And if you're good on facts, you win cases. The other person may be super intelligent, but if you have done your hard work, you can still win a case over that particular person. So don't go by this that only NLUs and people from the NLUs do well in profession. No, that's not true.
And today there are so many good institutions coming up. There are some institutions which have become brand. There are others which are very good institutions. They are in the process of becoming brand in times to come. So it's about the good education rather than the brand that matters ultimately to give you the success. You have the third question also. We are waiting for that.
Yes, sir. So, and what actually happens in the corporate jobs? Like I know what advocates and lawyers do, but what happens in corporate jobs?
Harsh, there is a limit to which you can travel up in a corporate ladder.
Okay, sir.
You as I said, so far as profession is concerned, sky is the limit. How far you can rise in the profession. But when you get into a corporate job, you will realize that people who join with you or people who are senior to you are all youngsters. So they won't leave that position for you to unless you are very brilliant. You can
Yes.
become a partner, etc. That's right. But then there is a limit to which you can rise
Absolutely.
in a corporate job or any kind of a job. So in the initial years, you see, because as I told you, the money when you join a senior, because he feels that he's actually teaching you. You don't know anything. So he doesn't pay you too much because he thinks that, you are a liability to him. He's actually teaching you, grooming you. And he knows when once you learn, you will go away.
Yes.
So therefore, they don't pay you so well. But what you get groomed and learn pays you in the long run. When you start on your own, what you learn from your guru will get you much more in terms of returns than what when you join a corporate office. Because corporate office,
Setting up a business.
your limitations will be there in a corporate office.
Yeah, this prompts me to ask a question that this, when we talk about corporate, there are few names that we hear in the field of law that, criminal law, the civil law, service matter, or corporate law, labor law. So how does one choose to go for specializing in these fields? I think that will be a useful input for our young friend, that what are the branches and how one goes in choosing that.
You see, in the initial years, when you join, you don't know. I mean, it's an opportunity that it's very rare that you'll find a child really focused when he passes out of a law school, or that he like to go into the criminal law or civil law or as corporate part, companies matters or property disputes or tax side and all that, or service law to that for that matter. Very difficult for the child to choose at that stage. Very few will be focused to go into a particular line. So what happens is it depends on the opportunity that you get. If you work with a senior who's actually specializing in service law, maybe you start liking service law and you start specializing in that. And you can always change. See, some aspects of law will remain the same. When we talk of trials, civil procedure code would be the same in a civil matter. The criminal procedure code will be the same in a criminal matter. But the nuances, the laws, you can do as was said, you can do Companies Act. You can get into matrimonial disputes. You can get into trials in a matrimonial dispute in a civil suit, like nearly, so far as Evidence Act is concerned, would be nearly the same, or Civil Procedure Code is concerned, will be nearly the same.
Right.
The aptitude is slowly that you will realize, where you are cut for, because criminal law is not everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
Meeting criminals, actually hobnobbing with criminals. That's what in America they called criminal lawyers as ambulance chasers.
Okay.
And they are running after the hospitals and to the थानास to कि जो वहां पे person will be arrested, उसका वकालतनामा लेके पहुंच जाते हैं कि जी आप sign कर दो, and then you take. They were called ambulance chasers. They chased ambulances.
Right.
So therefore, that's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you would like to do a white collar crime cases. You not that kind of a cases like coffee posa, money laundering cases, where or like nowadays, a lot of politicians are being charged with Prevention of Corruption Act.
Right.
So those are called white collar crimes. So maybe like in that. So therefore, what to choose may not be easy for you to decide when you enter the profession. Depends on which law firm you join, which senior you join. And then you will have your peer group there. They'll be working in different companies. They'll tell you their stories. So slowly you will branch out. I mean, I never knew that what particular. I mean, till I was designated as a senior. I mean, I started on the civil side because my senior was a civil lawyer. But now as a senior, I also do criminal work. I do other cases also. So therefore, it's very difficult in the initial stages, except a very few of the youngsters who would be focused to get into a particular line, especially if your dad or somebody else is in the profession. But if you are nobody else in the profession, it's very difficult to choose the line in the beginning. But you can branch out later on.
And it is not like the medical profession that one has to do MD in a particular specialization. It is by virtue of practice that one gets into the specialization.
The experience that you gain. That's the most important part.
All right. So, Khushi, over to you.
Good evening, JP sir and Amitabh sir. Sir, I wanted to ask you, so that what are the challenges faced by the first generation lawyers and how to overcome the difficulties in future?
You were not very clear.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat your question, Khushi?
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask you, sir, that what are the challenges faced by the first generation lawyers and how I can like overcome these difficulties in future?
It is interesting that I have the same question by one of our other friend, Harshita. I would like to acknowledge Harshita's presence right now with us, but because of the technical reasons, she could not connect with the camera and the sound. She's sent me a question, which says the same thing, that what are the challenges faced by the first generation lawyers, how to overcome these difficulties in future.
Kushi, I am a first generation lawyer. I had nobody in the law, when I joined, and I never even dreamt as I told you, I came to, prepare for civil service, and I became a lawyer.
Just one second. Khushi, can you mute yourself for a second?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please.
So Kushi, as I was saying, I had come and taken up law as not as a career option, but law as one of the papers for the civil services. So, and I had nobody else in the profession, and so I was totally at sea when I joined the bar. But look where I am today. You know, coming from a small town in Dhanbad, when I contested elections of the bar, I mean, if it was 3,600 was our electorate, my margin was 1,900. When I won over the others, the difference. This is the kind of respect and love I got. So it all depends on you. When you join the bar, of course, it's difficult. So it is important that you join the right senior. And when you join the right senior, important thing is do his work. Don't be interested in the beginning years as to what money I am earning. When I joined the bar, when I'm talking about 81, what was my first pay packet, which I was given by my senior? He gave me 500 rupees and said, JP, this is your coffee money. And when I left my senior after 3.5 years, 4 years, I was the highest paid junior at that time. And I know how much I was getting? 2,500.
And
money is not important when you join this profession. Yes, those initial years are tough because you don't want to take money from your parents. And that's my problem. That was my problem. I was staying away from my parents. I had to pay my rent. I had to run a motorcycle, which I had at that time. And so I needed to make money, yes, to keep my body and soul together. But that was something which you need in the initial. Today, it's maybe 10,000, 15,000. When you join a senior, initially he'll pay you. It is tough in the initial stages. I said, but if you learn from that senior, see the difference. Maybe, the money terms I told you, 2,500 may have been very good at that particular time. But what I'm telling you is this. Every senior in the High Court would come and ask me, JP Singh, इसमें civil revision डलेगी या CMN डलेगी, इसमें court fees कितनी डलेगी? एक चीज और याद रखना, सबसे बड़ी important part, वकालत में कोई भी काम छोटा नहीं है. Picking up your file, filing a process fee, serving a copy on the other party. When I joined my senior, the clerk had left, so I would do everything. But what did I gain? No dealing assistant in the High Court registry could fool me, because I knew everything, every part of the game. Why? Because I did it from my own hand. So what you need to do when you join the profession is to make the senior rely on you like crutches. आपके बिना वो चल नहीं सकना चाहिए. You made it. So therefore, timer के लिए कोई ऐसी problem नहीं है profession में. But
while listening to you, sir, I just got an analogy, what you were explaining to Khushi and everyone in our viewers. When Amitabh Bachchan was a first generation actor and Abhishek was not. So is Amitabh had a more successful story than Abhishek has, right? So it's not about whether you're a first generation or you're a second generation. It's about your skill, your talent, your passion, and your commitment to build it up gradually. As JP sir said, that patience is the virtue and willingness to persevere into the field as well, right? So, Ananya, can you unmute yourself? Ananya, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you switch on your camera and ask your question?
So, I have no further questions and I'm facing network issues, sir. Sorry for
All
the
right, no worries.
inconvenience.
That's absolutely fine. So Shubhayu, are you there? Over to you, Shubhayu.
Yes, sir. Sir, I had a very simple question. To have a career or future in law, which law aligning subjects like maybe psychology or economics should we keep in our plus two, which would help in our build a career in law in future?
Not necessary so far as +2 is concerned, but when you come to like if you are doing a 3+3 in a BA course, maybe political science or psychology may be a better choice, and so but when it comes to your +2, it actually really makes no difference. See, because most of the times now you have an entrance examination for law, to get into any kind of a law school now, except some universities who are offering you these courses based on your results, the +2 results. Otherwise, almost all the good law colleges today are asking for an entrance, CLAT or other, law. In our times, it was again basically what you had in your graduation marks, and you would get into a law school. For you now in a 5-year course, basically they look at your +2 results. So it's good to score, have papers which are scoring, then to think of whether you want to have science or economics or any kind of humanities or any particular course. It actually really makes no difference.
And in fact, this question prompts me to, I'm a psychologist by profession. And when after graduation, I appeared for my entrance exam for post-graduation in psychology. Certainly that year, number of people applying against the number of seats, which were only about 30 odd seats, number of people applying was huge. And I was scared whether I'll get selected or not, because you don't know what happens. Of course, I was fortunate enough. But in the process, what would be my next alternative career? Law was the option, and I appeared for entrance exam of law as well, and I cleared that. Of course, I was lucky to get in both. So psychology and law probably will have a good connection as well as you can, because that would be very, very integral. Vidisha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can I request you to switch on your camera and ask your question? Over to you.
Sir, actually, I'm unable to switch on my camera, so can I ask
Go
my
ahead.
question?
You ask without. Go ahead. Go ahead with it.
Yes, sir. So I have two questions. The first one is that we know that in the profession of being a lawyer, there's a lot of competition among the lawyers and the people, the graduates which are there. If they do not have the appropriate background, then it becomes really difficult for them uh, to uh, to have a job as a lawyer and uh, to work as a lawyer in the court. So, what should we do to stand out from them and to make this process a little easier for us? And yes, so that's what my question is.
Vidisha, I always say the legal profession is like an inverted pyramid. You see, you have a lot of space at the top, but less people there. It's crowded at the bottom, so all you need to do is stand out. Look forward, look up, and as I said, in the profession, there is space for everyone. And I mean, we've seen people who have sat in the district courts 30 years. I mean, you people have not, though of course, when you start doing law, you have now the occasion to visit courts, which we never had till we finished our law, and then we joined the senior, and then first time we saw the courts. Nowadays, you do internships and you keep coming to the courts. In the district courts, there are people we saw when we came in, and when after some time we realized was sitting for 30-35 years on the same table chair, जिसको chain के साथ बांध के वहां पे वही जगह पे, and thatched roof over their head, and they sat and worked. They still carried money home to survive. they also had their rooms for themselves. There are people who just do, affidavits, people who just go appear before a magistrate in an accident claim, who get your bail bonds filled. There is room for everyone. Question is, where do you come? Is for you to look for that particular position and work for it. There's a lot of room. So there's competition in every field, Vidisha. It's not that it's only in the law. I mean, whether if you want to be a good doctor, especially people nowadays are spending tons of money, and especially children of wards of doctors who join a lot of paid seats, who take up these paid seats, they pay tons of money to get that. Question is, if you did not have somebody else in the profession, you would not get a ready-made clinic. You would still have to struggle. So similarly, in this profession also, yes, in the beginning stages, there is struggle, but you'll find your space. There's no need to worry, and there's enough for everyone. I believe there's enough for everyone.
And Vidisha, as JP Singh said, explaining, my name is Amitabh, and I was just recalling a dialogue by Amitabh Bachchan in one of his films. जहां हम खड़े हो जाते हैं वहीं से लाइन शुरू होती है. And trust me, that line and dialogue is not for Amitabh Bachchan. That is for every Indian. क्योंकि हम 1.25 करोड़ से ज्यादा की आबादी वाले देश में रहते हैं. So there is competition in almost everything. We have to strive to create our space. As JP Singh sir was saying, you should decide where you want to be and strive for it.
No, because if you get into the wrong place, because profession is not about earning money. Profession is about making name. Money will follow you.
Absolutely.
But अगर पैसे के पीछे beginning से भागना शुरू कर दोगे ना, then and हमेशा अभी अब तो मैंने देखा but somebody told me very कहता है कभी लक्ष्मी जी की फोटोग्राफ देखिए, लक्ष्मी जी हमेशा खड़ी रहती हैं. लक्ष्मी जी कभी स्थिर नहीं रहती.
Right.
के पीछे भागोगे ना तो she will keep running away from you.
Absolutely.
विद्या के पीछे भागो. भागना है तो विद्या के पीछे भागो, हुनर के पीछे भागो. Have those qualities, money will follow you.
Fantastic. Build yourself, build your skill, make yourself capable. Rest will all follow you. You don't have to follow money. Make the money follow you. That's what is the mantra. And thank you so much, Vidisha, Harsh, Shubhayu, for being with us, for helping us out get a younger context and the inquiry. So thank you so much for being with you. I'm putting you back in the virtual studio so that we can.
Sir, last question.
Yes, go ahead, Harsh. Go ahead.
Sir. Okay, sir. Sir, a few days back, some of my friends were saying about something about lawyers representing India in the UN. So is that anything like for illegal weapons or something like that? Sir, can you explain what is that?
I do not know what you're referring to, Harsh, but yes, representing India in UN, you saw Mr. Harish Salve represent India when it was, we had our prisoner in Pakistan, when the matter was taken up before the ICJ. But yes, that's where you have to aim for. There's no reason why you should not aim for that particular position. But yeah, but then, as I said, aim for the moon. You'll get your space. I'm sure between the Earth and Moon, बहुत सारे stations हैं जहाँ पे आप रुक सकते हैं.
Absolutely.
Work for the best. But you have to work it out. You need to work very hard. So far as this profession is concerned, there's no substitute to hard work. No substitute to hard work.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Now, I'm sure these were fascinating inquiries from the young minds. But to end our session, I know that you've been working in a big way in the field of mediation, and that field is coming up is taking a strong root in Indian context, and you are one of those pioneers working in this field. So I would like my young friends to know a little more about this field before we call it a day for this session.
Amitabh, when we talked of litigation, it is an adversarial method where one wins, one loses. And so if you see, even the winner in the end is a loser in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of life gone. So even if you win, what do you gain?
Right.
But when we talk of mediation, mediation is about resolving conflict.
Right.
And when the conflict gets resolved, because in a litigation, you see, if two brothers are fighting,
Right.
even if one wins, the other loses, they will never get together.
Absolutely.
But when we talk of conflict resolution, and when we talk of mediation, mediation is about removing conflict from the society. And in turn, it's what we call a win-win situation so far as both parties are concerned. They get what they want.
Right.
Mediation is, when parties cannot negotiate on their own, they need a third party help. That's the mediation, for which you need to be trained.
Right.
Of course, it's soon becoming a profession in itself. There are a lot of statutes now which are bringing in mediation as pre-institution mediation as mandatory.
Okay.
So you have to go through the process of mediation before you actually attempt litigation. And
so
that
it's
being
a formal process by the court of law, or it's something which people do at their will?
Various statutes, Amitabh, this is now, you have to mandatorily go for mediation first. And then only you can, approach the court. Like Commercial Courts Act has now brought in. You see, even Consumer Courts Act is now today, because see, there's so many matters in consumer courts pending where you're getting dates of 8 months and a year.
Absolutely.
And imagine the small consumer disputes which keep languishing for years altogether. And if, as a mediator, you can bring those two parties together and help them to resolve that dispute by using specialized negotiation and communication techniques which you acquire by training, and which we also call them life skills, Amitabh, because every day we negotiate with each other, where to go for, which movie to go for, whether we should have Chinese or Indian,
Right.
whether mother is always having a negotiation that the son should clean his room, or whether it should be got done through somebody else. We are negotiating all the time. Question is, do we have the requisite communication skills? And what mediation teaches you is both negotiation and communication skills, which are part of daily life. Besides resolving conflict and cases in court, which, in America, 95% matters get resolved
Through mediation.
as through ADRs, and only 5% matters land up in court for trial.
So amazing to know.
And so therefore, there's a lot of scope in mediation in India. And Bar Council of India is now, has already passed a resolution making mediation as compulsory subject in the law schools.
All right. So that's a very interesting emergence of a preventive process in the court of law itself. And that itself can be a complete career. And it's a new trend which is there now for people to look into.
Yes.
So, listening to you is such an eye-opener, sir. I think you are an ocean of information when it comes to law, and I'm very interested. Maybe in future, request you and have a series of sessions just to talk about various aspects of law and get our young friends educated on that. We have a compulsion of time. Thank you so much for being with us and helping us out to reach out to these young friends. And thank you all the students for being with us. Thank you, sir. Your final words to our audience about career in law.
I have said that, so far as law is concerned, though it was maybe the last career option in the past, today, bright youngsters are joining the bar. The future is very good so far as the legal profession is concerned. And today, from them, tomorrow, we expect good judges also to come in. Because 66% of High Court judiciary is from lawyers. So therefore, the quality of, they always say quality of bar actually reflects the quality of the judgments which you get. So therefore, there's a lot of hope. And I'm sure the youngsters, if they join the profession, we welcome them. And I feel there's a lot of scope for children to develop here, and they should not dismay thinking about there's a lot of competition or I mean, you will keep hearing negative things about every profession today, but it all depends on you. It's your qualities. If they always say, "Na, kamal ka phool kichad mein bhi kamal hi hota hai."
Absolutely.
So therefore, you need not worry about the dirt and the filth. Aap kamal bano, and there is lot. I mean, as I said, sky is the limit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your profound word, your time, and your inputs. I'm sure a lot of young minds will be clear about this field of law. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Thank you for calling me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Friends, you were listening to Senior Advocate JP Singh, Delhi High Court, giving us inputs, answering the queries from our young mind friends who were connected to us from different parts of the country, different schools. I'm sure that you have gotten insight into law in this Career Conclave 2020. We'll stay in touch and keep connected to us. We'll keep bringing a lot more resource and information for you to benefit and take your decision in life. And right now we have in Career Conclave 2020, 5 o'clock, we have Annie Sharma, television actor, anchor, and a voiceover artist talking about career in the field of voiceover. So milte hain, stay connected and stay tuned to Career Conclave 2020, brought to you by HLS Media Partner, The School Time.